Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. Boy, is it good to be back here on Stat Chasing with my co-host Drico, and the Herald Fannin drafters are levitating. This is Stat Chasing.
Pat Fryer Helmo.
This is why I'm hot.
Anita Handjob.
Fix your sight.
Jamar. Alpha play chase.
Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
You can't handle the heat.
It looks like we're finally fifth boys. You're right.
Oh, how you doing, Drico? How did week 1 treat you?
Doing good. You know what? I'm just glad football's back. We don't need to talk about week 1 advance rates. I feel like I've done that before, and it's like, it's so silly. Like, it was fun though. It's always fun when you've been waiting all off season. We start drafting in January, February. We're thinking about NFL. We're talking about it. And then all the off-season news trickles in, and then we get football, and you get some surprises, you get things that work out how you hoped. This is obviously a very fun time of year. How about you?
I don't know what it was about this year. It might have been how much extra work went into the Sims and the Sidekick this year, where we had so much stuff where we wanted to see how it played out, just to know, did we get all these inputs right? I feel like there was so much more I was excited for this year, that even when stuff didn't break my way this week, I was just in a good mood the whole time. I was like, oh, I was wrong about that, but that's cool. It was just a really fun week 1, man. There was a lot of stuff that we got wrong, a lot of stuff that we got right. Overall, I think we got a lot more right than wrong. So it was very fun. But we should dive into these charts and start talking about it.
Yeah. I saw this comment here. Why did Jaylen Polk scare me into IK being off Fannin and Tuten? I don't know. That's a philosophical question.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to realize how mortal all your favorite analysts are and how non-omnipotent they are when we miss on stuff like Jaylen Polk, and we have those flops. Everybody gets some stuff wrong, and sometimes you're not even necessarily wrong. You just get that the outcome doesn't break your way. It's a probabilistic game, but it's really easy to get gun shy on stuff when you've seen someone be wrong about something, and that's so vivid and visceral to you. But enough about the philosophical stuff. Let's
that's a good response. Actually, before we go in, before you go into the comments on this YouTube video, or you at me on Twitter to tell me that I use filler words and I stir too much, please don't bother. Like, this is a nerd show about stats, and if audiophile stuff is your thing, this is not the show for you. So I promised myself that I would say that at the start this year. So
yeah, if you have beef with Drico, you have beef with me. So if you're gonna comment about any of that shit, just get the fuck out of here. This isn't your show. We're not for you. So deuces.
So going into this chart, we had a change in our data provider PFF. They no longer do expected fantasy points at all. So maybe that was a garbage metric if they don't even like it anymore. But we still want to do kind of like a volume metric to have on this chart here. And what we settled on was dropbacks. And so basically just how many times during the game has the team asked the quarterback to drop back, and they're either passing or throwing it. So that's kind of our main volume metric. And then we have adjusted yards per attempt, which is it's an efficiency metric on passing. It's basically yards per attempt, but rewards touchdowns, punishes interceptions. Not as sophisticated or as advanced as EPA, but it's to me it's a lot more simple and intuitive to kind of like understand and talk about. And then the size of the bubble corresponds to rushing yardage. So yeah. I guess this is probably going to be our most unstructured part. This is the one where I said let's just ad-lib this. What's the
Well,
worst?
I had a couple of guys that I had thoughts on. I mean, first with the change in the chart, just in general, what you're looking at here every week, because this is going to evolve each week as these guys move and their data becomes more stable. Obviously, there's a lot of noise in just a 1 week sample. But in general, our favorite place for our guys to be is in the upper right quadrant, right? A lot of dropbacks, high adjusted yards per attempt. So being efficient and getting a lot of passing volume. That's great for fantasy. And then it's icing on the cake where you're getting a floor booster and a ceiling booster if their bubble is big. Big bubble equals big rushing upside, right? And rushing floor. And so that's kind of what you're looking at. The part of the chart that I think is like pretty, hey, you really don't want to be here, like where there's lots of nuance to, hey, you're in the top left corner. Well, that can be okay if you're like actually at the top of the top left corner where you're just so efficient. It doesn't really matter that you don't have a ton of dropbacks. You're just
right. Unless your defense sucks ass. If you're like massively efficient, then you're usually just ending drives by with long touchdowns or big scores. So you're not actually having to drop back that often.
Yeah, the ones that would concern me is like where you have Tua and Cam Ward and, you know, to a lesser extent, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, those guys that are down in that range of the chart. If someone's going to live there for the duration of the season, that's probably someone you just can't really use in fantasy unless the size of their bubble's really large. They're just running a ton. Now, caveat on Tua, he didn't finish the game. The Dolphins were so out of it that Zach Wilson came in. So, you know, obviously I feel a bad game for him, but
I feel like Joe Burrow rents a spot in this quadrant of the chart every September before he flies up to the upper right by October, like he's like a snowbird.
Yeah. The other ones that I would expect to leave here, based on what we saw from the Cowboys, I would expect Dak Prescott to get better adjusted yards per attempt. There were a good number of drops. He gets, vultured by Javonte Williams, who gets 2 carries from the 1 yard line. One of them is CeeDee Lamb, gets taken down at the 1, would have been a touchdown otherwise for Dak. And all of a sudden you see his adjusted yards per attempt go up. So that's another guy I would expect to probably leave this quadrant. I'd expect to see their dropbacks go up a decent amount as well. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't have more in this game, but they weren't as pushed by the Eagles as I thought they might be. Their defense did a little better at keeping the scoring down in the second half. Really, it was after that rain delay or the weather delay. But the guys that I thought were really interesting to talk about, Spencer Rattler is actually kind of interesting because the Saints had a lot of dropbacks, and Spencer Rattler wasn't good, but he was like, serviceable enough that you could get some fantasy usefulness out of it. Probably not out of him very much. Like if he's at the very end of a best ball roster for you, he might crack a lineup or something. But also him as a starter for the whole season is a little ambiguous. But for the passing weapons in this offense, I think you got to feel a little optimistic, just given the number of dropbacks that they had.
Well, yeah, the prices on the Saints players as a whole was just that they were going to crater and be just like a catastrophic atomic wasteland where there was going to be nothing usable, nothing was going to work, and like, what is it, 49 dropbacks or whatever, and then 4.7 adjusted yards per attempt is like that's I guess this is per attempt is like not great. It's honestly not very good, but in the context of the Olave price, of the Juwan Johnson price, the Shaheed price, like a combination of a high dropback count and like not like shitting the bad efficiency is like to me that's like a massive win if that holds up over the season.
Yeah, and for me, all these guys that are like in the low efficiency 2 quadrants of the chart, because it's just 1 week and so much of efficiency can be driven by touchdowns here for adjusted yards per attempt, those are the guys where I'm looking like, is there a chance that this guy, either ran cold on touchdowns in week 1 or could do better going forward? So like Drake Maye, Joe Flacco, both guys that I think could do a lot better. Joe Flacco actually could have had such a crazy day when you think about it. He had multiple bad drops by his receivers, multiple interceptions that were not his fault. It was literally just his receivers playing volleyball and setting it up to the defense. So like I think Flacco and Maye are the ones where you're getting a good amount of dropbacks. And I think that they could have positive touchdown regression and see themselves be in that really favorable quadrant. So those are ones where I'm willing to like play it before we see it type stuff for DFS. The other one that I'm really interested in, just leaning into a thing before the market gets onto this trend, is I think Justin Herbert is going to be the 6th quarterback drafted overall in 2026. And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, the Chargers had a 15% positive pass rate over expectation, which is an enormous number. That's like huge outlier. They probably will never get to that again this season. But it does say something that they are willing to open it up and let Justin Herbert throw. The other thing that I really think is the big driver to me, that's a massive departure from what he's been in the past and what he was last year, is this will be the season where Justin Herbert rushes for his most career yards, barring any injury or anything crazy like that. We saw this shift happen partway through last season. In the first half of 2024, Justin Herbert was dealing with, I believe it was plantar fasciitis, and I think there was another foot injury too. He was all banged up, where he was having a lot of trouble with his mobility early in the season. Weeks 1 through 7, he averaged I want to say it was 5 rushing yards per game. And then in weeks 8 on, he averaged 25 rushing yards per game. So a 20 rushing yard per game difference on average in the first half of the season when he's dealing with that injury to the back half of the season. And this is something that's been consistent in Greg Roman offenses across his tenure in the NFL. He does like to have his quarterback use their legs to threaten the defense and basically take away some coverages that the defense might want to use by keeping them honest with the quarterback's ability to scramble. And Herbert is athletic enough to do it. He obviously has an incredible arm, so he can threaten the defense deep. I think that this is going to be the season where we see Herbert kind of ascend into that lower rushing, as far as all the rushing QBs go. He's not going to run for as many yards as Lamar, Fields, or Daniels or anything, but he's going to run for a good clip. 500 rushing yards at the end of the season wouldn't surprise me. 600 would be starting to push it. But Herbert is another one where I just want to slam this before projection systems catch up and the field catches up. Basically, if you're using a projection system and you can see their detailed projections and Justin Herbert isn't projected for greater than 20 rush yards on a week, I would adjust his projection up and just say, hey, I know better. I see this trend. I see the writing on the wall here. This guy's going to run more. And you can use that to modify projections while there's still a lot of fragility there.
And just I guess on the rushing yard thing, and just so this point will be clear to a lot of people, but some not. So 20 rushing yards extra a game is 2 points, which that doesn't sound like that much, but in terms of being projected for 17 points versus projected for 19 points, it's a big deal.
Yeah, so he's definitely one I'm excited about. Any guys that you wanted to touch on here, or should we move on to the running back chart?
No, I agree with kind of most of what you're saying there, where obviously my truth serum take was that the Browns will be fun bad. My kind of one concern in terms of the Browns looking serviceable is that they were playing the Bengals.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the one kind of thing in the back of my head there. I guess the other note, and we can touch on this more in the receiver stuff that I had, was Baker Mayfield was pretty average, whereas the last couple of years he's been kind of pretty efficient, where he didn't actually have that great of a game. I guess that's just something that I noticed that we'll be keeping an eye on. And then lastly, do want to mention, just because it's a clear and obvious point, Geno Smith is just got his absolute hog out, where almost 40 dropbacks a game. He's throwing at a 10-yard A dot, and at a 10-yard A dot, he's a 70% completion rate, which is 10% over the expected. So he is just absolutely balling, and I think that the Raiders pieces just become they become targets. I guess it's other than the two kind of major guys, which is Bowers and Jacoby Myers. None of them are kind of every week starters, but when people are kind of thinking about dart throws, Raiders are pretty fun dart throws.
Yeah, great shout out. Definitely glad that we gave Geno Smith some flowers. He was one of my favorite late round quarterbacks. I know in a ton of the drafts that we did, I was constantly trying to get you to draft Geno Smith over guys that were more fun. And I think that this is going to be sticky because Geno's been good, man. He's been good since he got his second shot when he was with the Seahawks, and I'm just excited to see what Geno does. All the people who
the Longview stuff kind of favored him having a good start, and I know people had questions on hey, will Chip Kelly be able to stick it in the league after getting relegated almost? Will Pete Carroll be able to will a Pete Carroll offense make any sense? But Geno being good and their offense being fun, I think we were kind of expecting it, but great they got the confirmation Sunday. Yeah.
I think the Patriots defense might be right now they're missing Christian Gonzalez, so their secondary a little depleted compared to what it will be, and he's one of the better corners in the league. But I think that their defensive line is much improved. They get Milton Williams, and then they get a lot of help from the Vrabel cronies, that were with him. Vrabel brings over a lot of guys. And I think that in general, the Patriots saw a pretty substantial defensive improvement. It didn't totally show in week one, but I would not be surprised to see them improve over the course of the season. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not really freaking out that Genty wasn't able to run against that Patriots defense there. I think their defensive line's much improved, and Geno was still able to dice them up. So I think it's bullish across the board for the Raiders, just on, hey, Geno can be the engine of the offense.
Yeah, just on the ESPN pass rush and run stuffing, they were number 3 and pass rush win rate, number 2 on run stuff win rate on the week. So New England Patriots defensive line absolutely dominated in that game. So that is kind of an interesting note that Geno still dominated and makes you feel better about the future prospects for Genty. Time to move on to the running back chart. And so that was weird. I have to zoom in for the quarterback chart and then zoom back out for the running back chart. And so obviously, the biggest surprise for me on week one was kind of how much of a kind of a bell cow Javonte Williams was. I know you're kind of the big Cowboys watcher among us, so I'm more than anything, I'm kind of curious as what your take on that usage.
Yeah, I thought it would be a little bit more split between him and Sanders, and it was to start the game. But when you put the ball on the ground, and what ultimately ended up being kind of the game-losing play from Miles Sanders, where he fumbles when they're inside the red zone, and then denies the Cowboys a score there. Eagles get the ball. That was kind of the thing that turned the game. And Miles Sanders, I don't believe, saw the field after that. So there's a couple things going on with the Cowboys. Number one, their backfield's completely devoid of talent. Their highest paid player in that backfield is their fullback, Hunter Lipke. Okay. Javonte Williams look decent to start. But I mean, really, the tale of this game is that Javonte Williams got 2, carries from the 1 yard line and fell into the end zone. And kudos to him for converting, but you're not going to get carries from the 1 yard line all the time. His long run was 11 yards, and the Eagles lost their best run defender before the first snap even happened. So I'm not particularly bullish on Javonte going forward from an efficiency standpoint. From a workload standpoint, I think that he will probably hang on to the majority of the work in the same way that we saw Zeke hang on to the majority of the work for far too long last season. I think it's an uphill battle for Jaden Blue, who's not particularly talented himself. His one thing that he has going for him is that he is fast. Unfortunately, fast and bad is not so great. I mean, that's why you're week 1 inactive. I think if he gets on the field, he will deliver enough explosive plays that he is, able to start carving out some work from Javonte. I would hope that the Cowboys are able to self-scout and evaluate well enough to realize that Miles Sanders should not be active on an NFL roster, but they do strange things, man. So my kind of like calling card this whole offseason, whenever we talk about how to rank the Cowboys backfield, was it's not going to surprise me at all to see 5 different players get touches out of the backfield in a single game. Be that Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, Hunter Lipke, and Kevontae Turpin. And Kevontae Turpin is kind of the unsung character in this story here, where he is going to leech points away from these running backs, where he's not particularly fantasy useful on his own, but he is a thorn in the side of these low efficiency backs that are benefiting from volume. And when Kevontae Turpin's taking that volume away, it's really not super helpful. So, I mean, if you have Javonte and you can sell him in like a managed league, great. Try and sell him off that 2 touchdown game. If you're in dire need of a running back to plug in and start in a managed league, you could do worse than Javonte Williams. He'll probably get the work. And he's on an offense that should score points, but yeah, I'm not buying that this is some resurgence of Javonte Williams, in spite of a very strong week 1 role.
Yeah. Love seeing the week 1 role. I'm looking at his next gen stats stuff, and he was like neutral on rush yard over expected. So like that neutral is like 3.6 yards a carry. And I guess the Eagles did play a pretty heavy box. They had like a 26% 8-man box rate. But yeah. I guess I guess the takeaway is that he's still bad or still not great. And what you're kind of saying is like, hey, they have a lot of different pieces that they can lean on, like rotationally. So like just because the individual pieces are not great and can't like individually threaten them, they could definitely become more rotational by leaning on some other guys more. And then I don't know if the story is like if the book is closed on Blue either, where like they could definitely decide to make him active over Miles Sanders.
They should,
and then they should, right? And he could definitely be much more of a threat to that kind of usage going forward. And I guess like what the usage is with where the efficiency is, it's like, hey, you're probably going to get 60 yards most weeks, and you hope to add a touchdown on top of it. Maybe you get a couple of catches. So like good weeks you're at 10, good weeks you're at 15, and bad weeks you're at like 10 or like maybe and I guess obviously you had the 2 touchdowns this week, so you got more than that. But your upside is still pretty capped. And I feel like even that 10-point like floor is pretty threatened too by all the factors we just talked about.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if by week 5 you're just unable to start Javonte Williams in a managed league. I mean, even now, like if you told me, hey, you got to start Javonte Williams, or like I'm not starting him over James Conner. I'm not starting him over Amarian Hampton.
No.
I'm starting him over Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah. For now.
What do you think about like Isaiah Pacheco, Javonte Williams, who you're starting there?
You're probably right now. You're probably starting Javonte.
Yeah,
because Pacheco is so committee challenged.
Here's a good one. This one actually I think is the line. I think we found it. Jordan Mason or Javonte?
Honestly, I think I'm Mason.
Yeah, I'm Mason. Mason actually looked good, right? Like Mason.
Right.
Mason is a good player in the NFL, and he's on a team that should look better than they looked the majority of last night. I mean, God, that first half was bleak, man. That was very depressing. I feel for Vikings fans that had to sit through that first half.
But like when people said when we were hearing during the offseason that Mason was going to be like 1A, 1B with Aaron Jones, I was expecting Aaron Jones to be the 1A, not Jordan Mason. Like I think
it's more of just like the utility that they want to get from them, where a lot of the time when they were running Mason, it's like these are going to be the hard yards type runs, a lot of the inside between the tackles type stuff. And the Aaron Jones stuff was a little bit more like, hey, we want you out here as a pass catcher. We want you to run outside the tackles.
You're the space back.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I was still expecting Aaron Jones to retain maybe enough of the meat and potato runs that he would be ahead. So I'm still like a little bit surprised that Mason is ahead. And I guess the one thing that we lose by not having expected points is we're not looking at any green zone touches. I assume I think Aaron Jones is still ahead on the green zone stuff.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that, but I would assume you're right. Although I know Mason, definitely they seem like they like him for short yardage stuff too. So it could just really be a true 50-50 as far as fantasy value is concerned, where the average value of a touch that Aaron Jones is getting is slightly higher than the average value of a touch Jordan Mason is getting. But Mason's getting enough more work that he kind of offsets that difference in touch value. So I think they truly are like 1A, 1B as far as fantasy is concerned here. Who does not look to be like a 1A, 1B here? So much so that I don't believe that the first back I'm going to mention is on this first chart. He's not. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, man. That's talk about a flippening of how the market had it this offseason. Do you think that's sticky?
I don't honestly, I'm not comfortable saying at this point whether it's sticky or not, just because it's so out of left field. Like the noise on Kenneth Walker was so strong. Like, and his prospect, his strength as a prospect, and like what he does well is so good. And like Charbonnet is kind of more boring. I'm like honestly so shocked by that. I think it's a little bit more premature to be able to call it one way or the other. But you certainly cannot ignore this at all. Like if we get another week of this, like then it's just Oh, by the way, I did look it up. So while Aaron Jones did get one red zone target, Jordan Mason got 3 red zone carries. So he's got the kind of goal line rusher role.
Yeah, that's good to verify there. But yeah, so I think 1A, 1B is. I mean, really, it's just like they're both 1A. There's no B. They're just the same.
Yeah. I was expecting a little bit more gap between them.
Yeah. Another guy that the market was expecting there to be, I guess, kind of a reverse from consensus on is the Jets backfield situation where, you had all this steam on Braelon Allen. I mean, man, I didn't really. This was a price that just like didn't really clock for me because I was never clicking him. But like at the end of draft season, Braelon Allen was going in like the 10th round. Man, it was wild stuff. So Braelon Allen screams up. Meanwhile, Breece Hall is like going in the 6th. I'm watching people draft on streams, and I was watching a draft with Neil Orfield and BP were on doing a DraftKings Millie draft, and they pass on Breece in the 5th round, and I'm screaming in the chat like, he's the top of the sidekick. You click him, and then he comes back to him in the 6th, and thankfully they took him there. But my God, man, the market got so out on Breece at the end and so in on Braelon Allen, who, despite having the rest of his life ahead of him, unfortunately is not very good at football.
Right. That rest of his life might be doing something else.
Yeah, he
I'm being a little harsh.
Oh,
but
God.
it definitely on the opening drives, it looked like the Jets intended for it to be much more of a split, where you're seeing Breece fucking cook the defense, and then he gets it. He has an 8-yard run on first down, and then they bring in Braelon Allen, and Braelon Allen just about gets the 2 for the first down. And it's just a stark night and day difference. And I'm only counting rush attempts for the backs here, but of 27 running back rush attempts, Breece Hall ended with 19 of them. Like, I feel like this is a he ended on the whole day. He ended up with a 60%, like kind of like he ended up with a 58% snap rate. So, like, that's kind of like head of a committee, like on the face of it. But by the end, the trend was so clear. Like, Breece Hall is the back that they need to make things happen. Like, it's so clear to me that like he's their better player. And then I guess the other thing that kind of factored into people's hesitancy on Breece Hall was he had a pretty down or bad year last year. And people were honestly that was like it was a little tough to chew on. But the fact that he looked fantastic in week 1, he had 28 rushing yards over expected, 107 yards and 19 carries, and looked so electric that. And I think he's literally like only 20. I think he's like 24 or 25. Like he's 24. So like the odds of that he like aged out last year it doesn't compute. So Breece Hall is you're probably getting this year what you wanted from Breece Hall when people were drafting him in the middle of the first round. Would be my takeaway from this week.
Yeah, they may have had plans to involve Braelon Allen and Isaiah Davis more, but as the saying goes, the best laid plans of Aaron Glenn often go awry, and Breece Hall, put the plans in the dumpster pretty immediately. Like there just was not a decision really to be made, and you could tell it was evident that the coaching staff knew too. They're like, all right, we cool experiment, very neat.
Yeah.
Let's.
We probably should have extended this guy already.
Yeah. So definitely extremely bullish for Breece. I mean, obviously Justin Fields being there to help keep the defense honest is really, really beneficial for him from an efficiency standpoint. So it's wheels up for Breece Hall. The only like fly in the ointment I would say is he didn't run as many routes as we would have liked and what we've come to expect from him. It could just, we talked about this a little bit offline.
Yeah, we had a talk with our buddy called Dvorak about it.
Yeah, it may have just been game plan specific where, he needed to stay in to help block a little bit more against the Steelers pass rush, things like that. But anyway, something to monitor for sure, because if his receiving
he had 8 routes and 6 pass blocks. So they did have him pass blocking a lot more. And what's strange is it's in combination is that they almost never pass blocked their tight ends. So they had Jeremy Rickards and Mason Taylor running routes down the field and leaving Breece Hall into block. Like that's kind of where we're getting into. Like maybe this was like game plan specific for the Steelers. Maybe they've kind of determined that they're weak to tight ends and better at covering running backs. But like you're saying, it's a bit of a fly in the ointment. We definitely prefer more routes. We prefer more targets. But something to watch going forward.
Yeah, if you made me bet on it, I would say that we'll see the routes increase just because they kind of need him to
right. He's their second best receiver.
I think it's going to be a slower realization of what they realized about the rushing game in week 1, where they're like, oh yeah, this Breece guy needs to touch the ball more. Okay, we'll figure it out. and because they were rational about that and made that change almost immediately, I think they'll be able to get there in the passing
eventually.
game as well.
Like the running thing just slaps you in the face.
Yeah.
Where you're watching the game and it's like so obvious. Like you have to be blind to not see the running thing. I think the routes thing, where it's like it's going to be one of those things where he gets a ball, he gets a target, and he makes a massive play, and then in the same game, the tight end like does something stupid, where like they eventually go like, oh, we should get him the ball, like what you're saying. And anyway, I think we made ourselves clear on Breece. The other one, and this one is probably a little bit more controversial. I've kind of laid out some of my initial thoughts on Christian McCaffrey on the Discord. But curious what you think about like the combination of like, what is it, 31 touches, but then like 3 yards per carry on the ground on his rush attempts. Yeah,
I mean, it was a monster workload, so you have to feel good about that. And I think how large the workload was, it gives you at least a little bit of signal as to, hey, the injury stuff truly, it wasn't like a, hey, this is a flare up that could be really serious type thing. It truly was a, abundance of caution type thing with him being limited this last week at practice. So I think the volume helps you just be a little less concerned about, seasoning and ending injury popping up.
Yeah.
I'm dialing down
agreed.
Risk just a shade in the mental model.
I mean, we had Davis Maddock ready to jump off a cliff based on the LP at practice and then the DNP. Like, and we're picking on Davis, but there was plenty of people who were like, it's absolutely joker for this guy. Like he'll never play again, never be the same guy. So having the monster workload, like relative to that concern, big deal. One thing I wanted to note on like his raw play count is that the 49ers had ran 75 plays. And it's funny, 75 plays, and they gave it to him 31 times. So like 40% of their offense was still CMC. But I do think that's like some important context in his raw touch count is like they just had like a they just ran a lot of plays. And what's funny is Brian Robinson also had 9 attempts and ran 7 routes. And maybe that's more why or more as a result of the 75 plays. But I did think that's important context. And like, I guess like 31 touches in the game is unsustainable. So it probably does come down. And then I guess the other thing that kind of bothers me, like, and maybe I'm focusing on it too much, but, and this is kind of what I laid out, which is like, he was like, in terms of next gen stats, he had the most rushing yards under expected of anybody, on in week 1, and obviously you get 22 carries. That's going to help you get there. But like he had like minus like 1.15 in the rushing yards under expected per attempt. Like they ran against some of the lightest boxes where like only 9% of his carries were against an 8-man box. I do have a tough time with that, and I guess it's kind of like it's on the other side. You do have the volume, and then he's clearly still the best receiving back in football. So you still have that, which is pretty nice on a team where they're what you call it. Their receivers are and Kittle is struggling for injury, but and then I guess the other thing about it is when I look at the San Francisco 49ers, their O-line, it was 27th in run block win rate, so not great. And then the Seahawks, their run stuff win rate was 5. So maybe the Seahawks are just like a very strong run stuffing defense.
I think that's part of it. I think the Seahawks defense might be for real.
Like they're 5th in the run stuff rate. So maybe that's it.
Yeah, I echo your concerns though on the efficiency stuff. It wouldn't be surprising at all to see a guy come off of, bilateral Achilles tendonitis and all of a sudden, and also
right.
a totally separate PCL injury that ends his season. Like the guy's
Right.
wearing a lot of injuries here and he's an older player. So the efficiency declining should be the norm, right? It should be the rule rather than the exception. So,
and then it's kind of like we're seeing the low efficiency on week 1. Like normally for these older guys, week 1 is where they wear it the best. And I made the counter argument to myself that like, hey, the Seahawks run defense might just be really good. But that's usually for a player of CMC's caliber. It's like it doesn't matter that the run defense is really good. He's just like pimping. But I think we've said what we have to say on CMC. I'm ready to put a bow on it.
Yeah, the only other running back spots I think we should talk about here. We can hit these ones a little quicker, but Pittsburgh, you see Kenneth Gainwell here on this chart, and I believe did Jaylen Warren not make this chart? I don't think he did. He's on the backups chart. Is that right?
Yeah. Let me scroll.
Yeah,
he is right here.
Right next to Kenneth Walker. So yeah, you get a ton of heaping helping of Kenneth Gainwell to start the game, which not great for Jaylen Warren. Eventually it seems like it flips and Warren is the guy getting a bunch of the work and Gainwell is kind of on the outs. But and also Caleb Johnson, just like if you got him on a managed team, you can cut him and churn him for someone else. He not saying he's dead for this season. It's just going to take a while. And don't worry, there ain't no risk of someone else picking him up off waivers. Like he's got a ways to go.
You're talking about home leagues that have shorter benches, right? You're not talking about like main event. Everyone.
No. Yeah.
I just wanted to specify.
Yeah. No, in a main event, there's probably not anything on your waivers worth churning Caleb for, right? Like Caleb is the thing that you would be holding. But here's one though. Hypothetically, say DJ Giddens is out there on waivers. You want DJ Giddens? You want Caleb Johnson?
Oh man, it's close, right? It's really close. You probably still want Caleb Johnson, just because DJ Giddens is behind Jonathan freaking Taylor, so like he's not like making serious inroads there. Whereas I feel like Kenneth Gainwell is over the course of the season is going to be easier to knock off.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. But the fact that that's close is
right, much closer. Whereas like you kind of evaluate them and like, hey, DJ Giddens actually did see the field because he's the number 2 back, even though like they actually didn't want to play their second back, and then Caleb Johnson and hey, he's got 2 guys ahead of him. And they think Gainwell is better than him. It's like, woof.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't bode super well for him. But he's not dead. I mean, he's
not dead. And we've seen it before. We've seen backs start off kind of like inactive or or not playing week 1 and then become major parts of the season once they kind of come on in their rookie year. Like that can just be part of their journey.
Absolutely. The extra, like, the reason I am a little overreactive on Caleb Johnson is just the stuff that we heard from camp about Rodgers just, ripping him a new one and being like, Rodgers chewed him out so publicly and loudly that there were multiple different articles written about how, like, nasty and loud Rodgers was about Caleb Johnson's performance during training camp. And when you think about it, like, Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem like the most pleasant individual to begin with. And so if something that he is doing is eliciting, multiple articles worth of content about, like, hey, this guy was a real asshole to this rookie and really seems to not like him. Like, to me, that's enough, especially with just who Rodgers is as a player, where if he doesn't like you just won't see the field. Like, he has that kind of pull. So that to me is, like, extra concerning. And then when Caleb Johnson gets one carry and then he fumbles on a kickoff, and it's just like, yeah, it seems like it's going to be tough sledding for him. Again, not dead, but I think his road is a lot more challenging than other guys that would, we've seen in similar situations historically. The only other backfield that we had a note on here,
we had 2 more, and kind of similar.
Okay. Yep.
We had the Commanders, where obviously we saw Bill. I think he didn't he end up being the leading rusher?
He was. Yeah. He ripped off a really big, I think it was like a 42-yarder near the end of the game that helped make his stat line look a little nicer. But he looked good. I think he had 80-something total yards. Half of them came on that one big play. Gets in the end zone as well. But he looked good from watching him. He was fast. He's not a guy who, when I had watched him previously, like in preseason and stuff, he didn't really pop as, like, the fastest guy on the field to me. He looked pretty quick here in week 1. So that was, like, my previous concern was, I think this guy might not actually be that fast. But maybe he just gets the Brian Robinson role, and, like, at the really cheap price that you could get him at before he shot up, that's a great win. But he could definitely turn into, like, Brian Robinson with juice. Is my
right. Well, he had I'm looking at his numbers here. He had 10 rush attempts, which led the running backs for rush attempts, and then the other guys. So he had, like, the other guys had 6 and 4. So he's definitely their main. But then again, I guess when he was getting his rush attempts is when they're firmly in control. So, like, they really could afford to see what they had in him. So maybe his rush attempts was, like, some of it was came about from the game script. However, him looking good doing it, and them even with the game script, them being willing to do that week 1 of his rookie year, them making C-Rod inactive, and him looking good, like, I think that does bode really, really well for him. Still have the limitation that Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols have, like, just the iron lock on the passing stuff, or most of the passing stuff. Like, that really does knock his ceiling. But I agree with you that we're looking at Brian Robinson with juice as we move forward. That's kind of, like, where that role is going.
Yeah, and I don't think it was too much game script related. It really, what happened was Eckler got, I want to say the first 3 drives was, like, basically all Austin Eckler.
Right.
Then Bill comes in and starts getting work. The guy that actually came in when it was more, where it felt more game script related to me, was McNichols, where it seemed like, hey, McNichols is going to come in and he's going to do the Eckler stuff now. He's going to take those Eckler snaps because we don't need Austin Eckler to have any more miles on him in this game. This one's, all done but the crying. So I don't think the Bill stuff was too game script related.
Okay. So I didn't watch too much of the game. I do know that for pretty much like it felt like 2.5 quarters at least, the Giants were just absolutely dead.
Yeah,
like
yes. But that was when you saw basically no more Eckler, and that's when you got the Jerry McNichols carries, where Bill started working in before that.
Okay,
but it was a heavy dose of Eckler to start the game.
Yeah.
It seems like, hey, this is a trusted guy. We're going to start.
Probably would have gotten still carries. He may not have had such a wide lead on the carries. I guess is what I'm saying. If they weren't ahead for so much of the game,
Eckler could have gotten more. If it's a tight game and they feel like they need to have Eckler on the field more, they might have. But I didn't get my like takeaway from it was there's one guy that we trust the most to not make any mistakes, and that's Austin Eckler.
Yes.
And other than that, I don't really think it's anything about like this is the best running back or the most talented guy. It more was just like, hey, the game's still close. Let's just not make any mistakes. Austin Eckler can get out here and do the things that we need. And then as soon as they felt like they had a little bit of breathing room, it was like, all right, well, we can definitely. Game was still within reach, but Bill is getting the work now. And then as soon as it starts to get like, hey, it's out of hand. Giants are not in this one anymore. That's where you get the McNichols and Eckler gets to rest it out for the rest.
Right. Of and then I guess the other point is that in the go forward, Bill looked good enough that he probably has increased trust going forward. That maybe he's not just a pure change of pace guy. Maybe he has gotten more kind of trusted work going forward. At least 100% in the rushing sense.
I would assume that as the season plays out, he will get the majority of the snaps. He'll take over more snaps from Eckler, where there's probably never a true majority in this backfield, because I do think they actually like.
Yeah, you're saying plurality.
Yeah, he gets the plurality. Yeah. I do think they like McNichols a good amount.
Yeah, they do. They made him that active and played him. And then the last back we wanted to touch on, which was the Jaguars backfield, which traded no good Tanks Bigsby because he sucks, and to promote Bhayshul Tuten into being their main change of pace back behind Travis Etienne. Yeah,
the stuff here, there's a lot to parse on the Jags backfield. Number one is you get Etienne looking really good. And if you've watched Stat Chasing for a couple of years now, you probably remember back, I want to say it was 2 years ago, you and I had a whole segment. It might have been like week 3, week 4. And we're talking about where would you draft Travis Etienne at this
we were talking about legendary season.
Yeah, we're talking like, do you take him at the 1-2, or is he more like a 2-3 turn guy? But like that is the context with which we've looked at Travis Etienne before. I think for him, he's just the kind of back that does not wear the work well. He doesn't wear the injuries well as the season goes on, and there's this attrition. He's got to hold up under the workload. That's just something where, as we've seen it in his career, he kind of wanes in his efficiency as time goes on. And so there are lots of seasons where this guy just runs good and stays healthy and doesn't get dinged up. But like getting dinged up is kind of inevitable at the running back position. Maybe he wears it better this year, but I would say history has told us that he probably won't. And that's kind of what opens the door in my mind for Tuten. So it wouldn't surprise me if Tuten comes on slower than all the Tuten slappies want, because Etienne is looking good. He's looking like the Etienne that we think is really good. And so he just might be good enough to keep Tuten in more of a complementary role for a while. And then also you get LaQuint Allen. And I don't have this pulled up in front of me, but I was looking at the PFF pass blocking grades for the backs, and they had LaQuint Allen graded as a pretty good pass blocker. Like and that's what the Jags were using him for. They were using him as, that third down back. He's out there, running routes and pass blocking. That's bad for, if Etienne maintains the role that he has, it's like, whatever, you'd love to have the extra pass catching stuff for him, but like, it's okay. But I think it's particularly bad for Tuten. You really hope that Tuten can kind of wrest that away from LaQuint Allen. But it does seem like Tuten might be a little bit less of a polished player than people want, just with the fact that it does seem like they're trying to progress with him a little slower. He does have the fumbling issues. You end up with
LaQuint Allen has the lock on the third down, like long passing distance stuff. He does for sure. And then I guess what you hope for with Tuten is that he kind of consolidates what Tank Bigsby had. So like Tank Bigsby had 5 rush attempts, Tuten had 3, so you get 8, and Travis Etienne had 16. So like maybe he's kind of like a true like change of pace back, and if he can look really really good at that, maybe he does, like as the season progresses on, he does kind of take more of it. But I agree with what you're saying, where some of the news here is that they do actually want to use Tuten. Like I remember Adam Schefter said on the podcast late in the offseason, hey, everybody, you should draft Bhayshul Tuten. He's going to get a lot of looks this year. And I'm like, well, if Adam Schefter said it, I'm going to buy that. We all like him anyway. I'm going to do that. And then you get the Bigsby news, which is hugely positive. But part of the news we've had this weekend is that Travis Etienne looks like a dog. And I guess, like you're saying, part of the story for Tuten depends on how well does Etienne hold up for injury. He is kind of getting to be an older back. How long does he maintain that efficiency? And if he does, it's going to be extremely difficult for Tuten to make inroads there. But I do think it's pretty positive that the team has like kind of gone out of their way to open up the path for him.
Yeah, they very clearly like him a lot. I mean, when you follow the breadcrumbs all the way back to before the draft, when is Gladstone the GM? Is that the name? I'm blanking right now. But when he's interviewing for the job, he specifically cites Tuten as this is the type of player that we could draft in the 4th round that would add a lot of big play potential to this offense. So that's a thing that we think that, we need to go and get. And then they followed up and do exactly what they said. Like, hey, we like this player. We think he fills a need for us on the offense. It's important. Here's how we would execute that strategy. Then they go and do it, right? So that's like, okay, they're following up with what they said. Then you get them trading Bigsby, which is additional signal where they're like, yeah, get this guy out of the way. We want to play the guy that we like. And so then they go ahead and clear the lane for Tuten there. So you have it's advantageous that the team likes him so much. Honestly, like you probably really need that to help overcome the fumbling red flags, where it's like you definitely want the coaching staff to like this guy so that one fumble doesn't just like put him in the doghouse or send him to the shadow realm forever. So you do have like that little bit of extra boost to him. Like he'll get the opportunity is what I'm saying, but you do have the path is a little narrower.
You're just expressing concern that, hey, another rookie has the lock on the long down distance stuff. The guy in front of him actually looks good. And by the way, he fumbles too.
Yeah. It's just a slightly narrower path than you'd hope, than we thought during the offseason, where we thought Travis Etienne is not going to be an impediment whatsoever. And we were paying no mind to LaQuint Allen, right? So that's, for me, like the ceiling for Tuten still remains the same. It's extremely high. It's just what we were previously thinking, happens 30% of the time might actually happen 20% of the time. And that's meaningful. But like, I still think he's a very exciting player. He's definitely a hold. He's not someone you're going out and churning or anything like that.
Oh, Neil, he missed Neil just joined our listener. He missed you describing your viewing experience of his podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah, I did shout you out, Neil, when you infamously passed on Breece Hall in the fifth. Also, some comments about how painful it was to watch the Vikings first half last night, but thankfully they pulled it out for you. Backup running backs, I think we pretty much touched on everyone that we really wanted to talk about here.
Yeah. Let's see some for discussing week 2.
Yeah.
So next we have the tight end utilization and efficiency chart, which is essentially the main part of the chart is what percentage of routes are you running on team dropbacks, which is, and then we do look at kind of who's pass blocking, because like the reason I like to add that in is because like if you didn't have that context, you would think that they weren't on the field. Like we don't care if you're on the field for the pass blocking. But it's nice to see that even if you're not full-time on routes, at least the team wants you out there. And then we also look at targets per run. Obviously, we want guys who are out there and then also getting targeted. And then ADOT, I think this is less meaningful in week 1. But we do want the targets down the field also. I guess this is the Harold Fannin part of the show, where
we gotta start with Fannin. One thing I have to bring up, because we're going to talk about all the other stuff, I'm sure, but Harold Fannin, you see him with a very little bit of pass blocking. There was, I believe it was a run, it was a run play where he's tasked with run blocking, and he is out there against Trey Hendrickson. One of the best defensive ends in the league, and Harold Fannin has a run block win against Trey Hendrickson. Rookie Harold Fannin, he's only a receiver. He's not even really a tight end. He can't block or do anything except he blocks Trey fucking Hendrickson successfully. So, I mean, it's wheels all the way up for Harold Fannin. He can. He's not Brock Bowers. I won't disrespect Brock Bowers like that, but God, is he close? Like he does so much. I mean, the man's taken wildcat snaps in his first game ever as a rookie. He's lining up in the backfield, like he's running routes. He's playing inline. He's playing in the slot. I mean, he had
18 run blocking snaps in week 1.
Yeah, he is a weapon. Harold Fannin is just a weapon, and I'm just going to say it. Harold Fannin is the best player on the Browns offense right now. Full stop. It's not close. And the gap will widen over the course of this season. It would not shock me if Harold Fannin leads the Browns in targets by the end of the year, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. I think that happens 20% of the time, which is pretty insane for a rookie third-round tight end to potentially lead the team in targets, when there's another tight end that David Njoku is like a very legitimate tight end that's competition for him there. Jerry Jeudy, earns targets. Like there are other people here to take targets away from this guy, and he's still out here with 29% targets per route run. Right,
on a pretty meaningful at route count as well.
Yeah. The Brown, I mean, you saw the Flacco dropbacks, right? Like Flacco was one of the highest dropbacks in the league in week 1. And we think that's going to be a trend for the Browns. Like we expect them to drop back and pass a lot. That's kind of their DNA.
And I was thinking about it too. I know Sean Siegel had this comment where they're probably going to play like that even when and if the rookies come in. They probably will still have a high drop back count. And then I know that the rookies probably won't be great efficiency wise, but I feel like they can keep pace with 4 or 5 yards adjusted yards per attempt. Just on your point of like, this is what the Browns are going to look like.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the rookies. I mean, gosh, there was a stretch during the offseason where I started to get a little hope for Shadur, but that after the like one decent preseason game, but that kind of cratered. When you are getting your chance as like the third quarterback on the depth chart in a preseason game, and then you get benched at the end of the game. It is the fourth quarter with like barely any time left in a meaningless preseason game. And the coaching staff is like, get the fuck off my field. Like, we do not want you anywhere. I mean, short of just outright cutting him during the game, like, that is the most bearish thing you could really possibly see.
I thought they wanted to get some reps for Snoop.
For Snoop Huntley, yeah. You got to see what you have in Snoop Huntley. Right?
Oh, I thought they were like trying to do him a favor. It was like, thanks for coming in and covering for us. Let's get you some tape, buddy. That was my maybe that was too rose tinted.
That's the most charitable interpretation you can make. But maybe you're right. Maybe they're just good guys at heart, and they really want
the Browns. They just really take care of people.
But the
other thing I wanted to note on. You were talking about like Fannin's alignment. So of his 55 offensive snaps, 29 of them came in line, 16 of the slot, 6 out wide. So like truly all over the field. 3 in the back, 1 at quarterback for the wildcat snap. Like, we had one of the major concerns I had, at least on Fannin on this year, not too big of a concern, was just like maybe he couldn't be like a true tight end. Like that concern has evaporated.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason we weren't higher on this guy is because we said, I mean, it might take a while. You know, it's hardest position, you know, to learn for a guy. He might just be, you know, true receiver only, where they're only having him come in a little bit, really limited snaps. And I mean, God, if we had known, if you could have shown me the Harold Fannin stat line, I would, from week 1 back in May.
If you get me the DFS stats, yeah.
It's truly,
would have dropped him in the 12th round.
Yeah, this is a like generational with where you were getting him. I mean, not to over exaggerate, like Harold Fannin is going to be the closest thing to a Puka Nacua that we'll have this season, you know, like how much he benefits you from his draft costs. Like, he could very easily be the largest win, you know, cost adjusted. So pretty exciting stuff from him. Huge price. I mean, if he's somehow on your waivers in FFPC, like in a main event or a big gorilla, what are you doing? How much are you bidding there?
You unload the clip.
It's everything, right?
FFPC. You need like
you save $20 to do
for your defense, but
defenses and stuff. But
it's you unload the clip, because I was about to say, I think if I was doing like week 12 projections now, I'd project like pretty close to 100% snap rate for Fannin.
Yeah, there's so much stuff where I feel like this year we did a lot less leaking of the alpha that we had when we were, you know, in the rankings chat. We all, I feel like, do a really good job, you know, being news hounds and consuming lots of stuff during the off season. And I think actually synthesizing the information correctly is a thing that a lot of people get wrong. Like, for example, there are people out there that completely failed to synthesize that, you know, the trading of Brian Robinson was directly connected to the new rookie bill and not at all related to Chris Rodriguez, who had been cut multiple times last season and was, you know, a multi-year vet at this point. Like, so people do a poor job synthesizing information. One of the pieces that got me, I mean, we were bullish on Fannin the whole way, but the thing that really like made me all systems go, where I just started taking him in like the 15th, 16th round in my drafts, because like, I don't care. I'm going to take whatever of these other 3 players to close out my draft anyway. The one I can't be without is Harold Fannin. And the piece of information that kind of flipped that switch for me was the Browns beat reporter from The Athletic is talking on a podcast, and he accidentally misspeaks when he's talking about Harold Fannin and David Njoku. And he says, Harold Fannin is going to be the reason David Njoku isn't on this team 3 months from now. He says this into July, beginning of August, implying that it is known that David Njoku is getting moved before the deadline. Then he catches himself and says, or 8 months from now. And that right there where, hey, we're getting signal where a guy with information from the organization is telling you like, yeah, they already have plans to get David Njoku out of the way because Harold Fannin is the truth. And then you get him sitting with the starters and resting in the preseason. And then when he is playing in the preseason, he's heavily targeted and catching touchdowns. Like it all, the drumbeat was deafening, and every shred of evidence we got along the way was just more and more bullish. And it's just really fun to get to watch it all come to fruition with Harold Fannin, very possibly a season-defining player.
So what you're saying is the best college tight end of all time might be good.
That's the other thing. Like sometimes the guys that are really good at football just stay really good at football. And I mean, there's nuance to it, obviously. Like if you for example, you look at Trey Harris, where it's like, oh my gosh, the Trey Harris yards per route run were crazy. And it's like, yeah, but like
he was older. He played with Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen the Ole Miss scam happen for, like it's a thing. But anyway,
right. The Lane Kiffin just like creates these guys.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from Harold Fannin because I could talk about him all night.
Yeah. Other late round tight end smash, Juwan Johnson. Like we're talking about New Orleans Saints being fun bad, lots of dropbacks. So them having close to 50 dropbacks, and then Juwan Johnson being number 2 in the chart in percentage of tight end routes, and then an 8.2 ADOT, 23% target per run. Like that's nuts. Like that's like I don't know. It's just nuts.
Yeah, no, it's a big departure from how he was used in the past. I mean, if we go up and if we go pull up, our charts from last year for Juwan Johnson, like it's a major difference. And I guess this one's on. I feel like I have egg on my face with this one because the whole offseason, even after we got some information that sounded like they wanted to change how they utilized him, I just didn't really buy it because I felt like we had kind of seen it all before. But yeah, they're using him like he archetypes, which is he is a receiver. He's not really a tight end. And that's what he was coming into the league, converted receiver, right? And so now you get a coaching staff that's actually going to use him this way, and it seems pretty good for him. There's like some small shred of me that's like, I want to see it one more week before I'm like, okay, yep, I was super duper all the way wrong. Right now, I'm like pretty confident I was wrong on it. And it's not one where I'm like going to avoid playing Juwan Johnson if it's a good spot to play him. I'm like, no, I need to see more. But it's just one where I'm like, okay, maybe he just got like a bunch of targets this week and he'll run more routes, but won't get as many targets in the future. But I feel pretty confident saying this one was a big miss by me because this is a guy that I've been in on for snaps. Yeah.
So like it wasn't just passing game stuff; they were also using him a bunch, and the run game. I'm pulling up the exact number now, but let me see. Sorry, he had 22 run blocking snaps.
Wow.
Like,
do you have how he his alignment numbers pulled
up? Yeah. So he played 74 snaps total, which is that's a huge count, and 28 of them were in line. So he played a bunch slot.
Okay. Yeah.
He had a snap on the O line.
Then yeah, he's just their slot receiver effectively. Slot receiver, and then also will get some inline stuff. But he's gonna be on the field all the time. He is. You get those slot only receivers where you're like, oh, well, they're not going to play all the snaps. It's like, yeah, Juwan Johnson is like the slot only receiver. And then when you normally take him off the field, they just bump him to.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's exactly right.
So he looks like an awesome late round tight end dart. Man, never wrong just early on Juwan Johnson.
He's absolutely kind of like a main event priority in the waivers, right?
Yeah, he's one where I had someone ask me about this where they have good tight ends already. Like I think they had Dallas Goedert and someone else that's like serviceable where where it's like, okay, like, am I going to start Juwan Johnson over Dallas Goedert? Like, is it close? And I just told him, Juwan Johnson is like, you have to price enforce there. You can't let some other team go get Juwan Johnson for cheap. Like you just need to go out and put in a bid that you think is what he's worth. And if you don't get him and you already have functional tight ends, that's okay. Like you're just trying to stop someone from getting a steal that makes some other team much stronger in your league. You don't want to have to face that later when you could be just blocking those points from getting onto someone else's roster. So.
Yeah, I agreed 100%. We had somebody here ask about Valet. I'm just pulling up that. So they're in the NFC South, right? Yes, they are. And so Valet, he got 9 routes. Olave 43, Juwan Johnson 47, Shaheed 46, Brandon Cooks got 42. So just to synthesize this, yes, Valet could play more, but he'd be cutting into Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, probably comes out of Brandon Cooks' pie, not Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, like they didn't play another tight end. Or
wow.
Sorry, no, wait, that's not true. This report only pulls in this report that I'm looking at only pulls in people who've gotten, and not another tight end got a reception.
Okay,
is what I should say. Let me be more accurate here. They played 2 other tight ends. So Jack Stahl got 18 snaps. Malachi Matavo got 1 snap. So like, yes, they on a 75 play count, he's out there for 74 of them. And then the other guy is like got like what 30% snaps. Like just every down player for the Saints, which for a receiving archetype is huge.
Yeah, big bummer. That's one where I'm gonna regret not drafting more of him. He was one of my highest owned players last year, and I had a ton of him the year before as well. And unfortunately, did not get on the train this year. But kudos to the Juwan Johnson drafters. Definitely one of those where paying attention to what the team said and how they're going to deploy him ended up bearing some fruit there. A couple guys that did not bear fruit. In fact, the fruit is rotting on the vine. Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. It's joever. Those aren't. They're not like fantasy tight ends anymore. Those are names. They're remember that guys now. I mean, gosh.
The one that seems most egregious to me, is Travis Kelce, where they had the big Xavier Worthy injury, like the Chiefs they dropped back a bunch of times. Like I think I forget how many times they dropped back, but it was a lot.
Yeah, they're second highest PROE this week, so they were slinging it.
And so they had damn it, I'm not. So they were slinging it, and he's still like not really getting there. Like I'm glad that he was still playing good snaps, but joever. I could leave a little bit of a light on,
right?
No. I could leave a little bit of a light on for Mark Andrews that like their drop back count was so low, and Zay Flowers just dominated so much. Maybe there's something there for him, but it very, very, very disappointing overall for Mark Andrews. Especially like to me, it's like it's the sequential stuff as well, where like last year was a disappointing year, then week 1, another disappointing year or week. They don't play likely. He's still only 80% on pass rate, and then 6% target spread run, 4 ADOT, which is super low for Mark Andrews. I think Travis Kelce is being sent to the horse factory. Mark Andrews is on the watch list for that.
Yeah, very, very well put. Man, a guy who could not be farther from being sent to the glue factory. Tyler Warren, rookie tight end, so a lot of life left in him before the glue factory calls for him. But man, he really, really seems like very high first read target. Definitely someone that they are going to be getting the ball to early and often. Seems like he is going to be set up for a very strong season. I expect the targets per route run to come down just a little. It's not going to stay at 38%. But I mean, his first read rate was really high. It definitely seems like he is going to hurt Downs and Pittman going forward. Now, Downs and Pittman were so severely discounted. I don't really think you're terribly concerned with the price you got them at. And then the Warren price got to be so high near the end of the season that it was like, yeah, I mean, you're happy if you drafted him. You're not like, this isn't paying off the price. You're very happy about it. But for me, the bet was just a little too expensive when you're considering the range of outcomes. Like this outcome of Tyler Warren is good, the Colts make him the focal point. Like that's far from assured. It's not a thing that you're like, I'm drafting him here in the 70s because it's guaranteed that this is happening. It's like, no, there's definitely other stuff that can happen. But yeah, it's definitely one where if you ended up fading Tyler Warren like I did, you're kind of the Squidward staring out the window at SpongeBob and Patrick having all the fun meme. Would love to have more Tyler Warren. I did get a decent bit of him when he was going really cheap. He kind of fell during a middle part of the summer. I got some in the 120s and stuff. And so that's where I'll get to enjoy the Tyler Warren show from. Got him on some high stakes teams there. But yeah, he's definitely a player I'm underweight to. And he seems like he's going to be one where he's going to pretty handily pay off his tag. I'm just not so confident that the process was wrong given the cost.
So I think him being a focal point was kind of expected, but him being a focal point and then the offense being so functional is like as it was. Like I think they never punted. They scored on every drive against the Dolphins. That's the part where it's like in terms of like the outcome on the fantasy points. Like I'd like to see them do it against somebody other than the Miami Dolphins. Before I crown Tyler Warren. But obviously great to see him be a focal point. Great to see that work out for the Colts. I ended up overweight, but wasn't drafting me at the end. FFBC, it was like you had to draft him over like Travis Hunter. I'm like, I'm gonna draft Travis Hunter over Tyler Warren, even in tight end premium.
Yeah.
But and then the other one, I don't think this will be that much of a surprise to anybody on the or listening to this podcast. Whereas people were kind of like they were shouting from the mountaintops, Brock Bowers is only getting 50% snap rate in the first 3 drives, and then in the fourth, I don't know if it was exactly the fourth, but in the subsequent drives, they definitely went back to featuring him. And then even on a kind of and then obviously his snap count here comes out lower because he got the injury, so he came out of the game. But even on the low snap count, they were targeting him so heavily when he was out there, he got over 100 yards. So I think you're still I think the Brock Bowers faders got off very lightly with the injury last weekend, and it's still all the way wheels up for Brock Bowers.
Yeah. He gets 8 targets in a game where he misses a decent chunk of the game, comes out due to injury near the end, and then early, the involvement was a little less. Pulling up his snaps here. Yeah, only ends up playing 32 snaps total. 10 in the slot, 8 out wide, by the way. So if there's room for Bowers to play more, it's that I think really what it is, and I want to look into the splits on this, but they just might not be having when it's a play where they want him to be lined up out wide or in the slot. They're just not going to have him out there on a run play because they're like, yeah, just save this guy. We don't need you getting banged up.
What was weird is they didn't have him. They had a bunch of plays early where they weren't playing him. It was like the first 2 drives. And then after those first couple of drives, they were like, yes, back to 80, 90% snap share and Brock Bowers. So I don't even know. Like, I'm not even ready to concede that his snap share is going to be low. I think it's super bullish that even with a low snap share, he crushes. But I think you could very easily see next week he's like at the top of this chart.
Yeah, it would not surprise me at all. It also very much could be one of those things where, I mean, this was actually how his rookie season started as well, where he's getting fewer snaps, and then it did not take very long for the coaching staff to realize, yeah, we can't do that anymore. This guy needs to be on the field more. Right. And this is a new coaching staff. It wouldn't surprise me at all if after some, self-scouting, they realize, okay, yeah, we just need the best tight end in the game out on the field more. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him move up in this chart. Meanwhile, the targets per route run of 31% with a 10.4 ADOT is pretty incredible. He had 2 targets greater than 20 yards down the field. I don't know if you saw both of them, but they're just like, dude, Geno is just ripping. Yeah. Like, it was beautiful to see, man. Brock Bowers, like, he's a verifiable deep threat on this team. It's not like he's only a run after the catch kind of guy. It's, no. Brock Bowers is dominant at all depths. Right. He's very fun to watch. He's pretty, I mean, for how big he is too, like, he's pretty graceful out there. Like, watching him on those routes.
And he's fast.
Yeah.
He ran like a 4.5 coming out of high school.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
I think he has one of the fastest ever mile per hour runs in college football history. Now, granted, they're not tracking it that long, but still, he is a fast man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with your sentiment that the Bowers faders got bailed out a little bit here in week 1. I mean, shit, you get him, not missing those snaps at the end of the game, or he gets a touchdown or something, like,
right.
All of a sudden that stat line goes from like, wow, that was a good day, to, oh my God, I'm getting buried by Brock Bowers. But my advice, if you faded Brock Bowers and you're not feeling totally buried yet, you still have a shred of optimism for your season that you're not going to end up buried by Brock Bowers. And I guess this only applies if you also didn't draft Harold Fannin. So if you faded Fannin and you faded Bowers, there's a secret.
What are you doing?
Trick. Well, hang on. There's a trick. There's a trick that can actually make this season work for you in best ball. And that's going to sound crazy because you're like, Zach, what can I do about my best ball teams I've already drafted? Well, here's what you can do. You need to go and find the apps you drafted on. You need to hold down the little thing on the phone where it starts to make all the little apps shake and you can move them. And you click the little delete button. You delete those apps. You never fucking look at them again, because this season is going to age very poorly for you. And that's the trick. You just never look at it again. Next year, when you go to play again, you look for that app on your phone. Never mind. I'm not going to put any more money into best ball. This money is going directly into a money market account for my family, where it stays safe, where I will not lose it again by fading the greatest tight end to ever play the game.
And don't worry about any winnings either. Like,
yeah, you will not need to check back in week 17. Do not worry about that. Okay, only one other. Actually, two quick notes on tight ends. One is a guy that I need to capitulate on. To you, you were correct. I was wrong. Evan Engram, definitely a rotational player. In Evan Ingram's defense, he does get hurt twice in the game. The second time he leaves the game for good, but he goes to the blue tent twice. In the fourth quarter, he exits for good. He got a couple targets, but it's the classic Evan Engram short scammy shit. And you were saying this all offseason, where it's like he's going to be a rotational player and I'm just so disinterested in rotational Evan Engram. You were very right. He is rotational. It's pretty joever for him. I like the only light I could possibly leave on for him is that, they use him more over the course of the season, but I do not think that's particularly likely. I think it's probably done for him. Good targets per route run, but it's only on 40% of the routes. So it's really and again, it's the classic Evan Engram 3 ADOT where I don't think that that's going to be enough to get you there. So Evan Engram probably dead and buried. The other guy that I don't think is dead and buried, but is here on the chart with Evan Engram and also has pretty bearish numbers for his week 1 is Colston Loveland. This is one where I think it requires a lot of nuance because you were pounding the table for Colston Loveland all offseason. The rest of us were just a little bit more bearish on him, not from like a, over the full season ceiling, like what he could do, but more that we were really confident he was going to start slow, just given the shoulder surgery and the, in June, we thought he wasn't going to be ready for camp at all. And then, he gets ready for camp. He's back. It seems like a fast start is all of a sudden in the cards. And so I got personally a lot more optimistic on Colston Loveland there. But then he ends up with a slow start. Cole Kmet gets the majority of the snaps. So it's something where I'm not panicking yet about Colston Loveland. I think that he definitely will earn more work as the season goes on. I think he's probably very good. But yeah, just a little disappointing that it's going to be a slower start out of the gate.
I'm disappointed too. The one thing that makes me feel better, I remember you had made a note separately. Hey, if you have Loveland over Warren, this is not good for you. My one note on Loveland is like, hey, the opportunity cost on Loveland was so much lower than Tyler Warren, and so I you can afford to be a little bit more patient on a breakout, but obviously would have liked to see more routes, more targets, and have done more with the targets he did get. And then the last guy I'd made a note on here was Jonnu, where he's still on a scam PPR bullshit. So yeah, I honestly think Jonnu is like kind of usable in tight end premium. If you're super desperate.
Yeah, he's definitely usable. I mean, the other thing is I think
nothing else.
I think he's got actually decently high touchdown equity as well because Arthur Smith likes him so much and will design stuff around the goal line for him. I'm dead serious, and so it's like,
I know
you get that added benefit where it's like this guy, the profile, just looking at this, where you're like, okay, he's only out there running routes on 50% of dropbacks with an 8 out of 0. Like you look at that and you're like, there's no shot that I'm starting this guy. He just happens to have these anomalies where the targets per route run are going to be crazy high because stuff is schemed directly for him. And then the touchdown equity is crazy high because it's schemed directly for him. So it's a very weird, anomalous profile, but it's one where if you understand the context of it, it makes sense for why it works. He'll be one of the really good late round tight end clicks in best ball, just because like all you really need is a touchdown from those guys to be good. And so, yeah, Jonnu going to be an awesome best ball click. In managed, it's going to be a harder start. But like you said, in tight end premium, where you're getting these scam targets, the high targets per route run, low ADOT, so it's easy for him to, they'll be easy catches. It's going to be a thing where he could be usable in a pinch.
Yeah, I agreed. And I'm just Tunja's the 49ers guy. I don't really have anything to add other than like it seems like he's the direct replacement of Kittle, like decent targets. Obviously scored the touchdown. I don't know how like sustainable like him wrestling, like taking balls from defenders should have been pick stuff is, but obviously he's a good pinch start with Kittle out.
Yeah, good shot there, and good shot about his wrestling the ball away. Man, Brock Purdy had some really bad looking throws.
Yeah,
but also had good throws. But man, there was some stinkers.
He put the ball. Yeah, he put the ball out there.
It might,
he was taking some
with the injury stuff, maybe he was hurt for, a good chunk of that game. And that's why it looked so bad, because he looked awesome last year and did not look great in week 1.
Yeah. Maybe he wasn't getting the power on his throws that he wanted to. Moving on to the receivers charts. The ones that kind of stuck out to me, the way when we first started doing these charts, we always kind of taught the top and to the left part of the chart is kind of like the regression candidates. The one that kind of looked interesting to me is relative to the reaction from Emeka Egbuka's start is kind of like he's probably a little bit weaker here, even though he ran so many routes. His targets per run of only 17%. ADOT 12.7, that's pretty good. And then getting the 2 touchdowns. Obviously, like you're not going to project anybody very many players to score 24 points per week. So obvious regression candidate. But I do think the per route target stuff was a little weaker than maybe what people were kind of signposting. You love seeing the full routes out the gate. You love seeing them score the touchdowns. You love seeing them get stuff down the field. But I don't know. I'm a little less impressed than other people are out the gate.
Yeah, I think he's one where it would not shock me at all if we see a trend of his targets per route run going up, and we see him getting more involved week after week after week, where he carves out a bigger and bigger role in the offense. It wouldn't surprise me, but I agree with you that it's one that we need to watch, because the week 1, like what the actual week 1 peripherals say, is not as good as the week 1 fantasy score. Obviously, It's still like. In a vacuum, the week 1 peripherals for, hey, this is a rookie wide receiver in his first game ever, you're like, great, yeah, this is awesome, very, very stoked about this guy. But it's not, the 2 touchdowns are doing a lot of heavy lifting on the perception of him, where I agree with you that the perception is just slightly overinflated, which I hate to say, because I thought he played awesome and looked good. But yeah, he's one. It wouldn't surprise me to see the peripherals improve and him earn more targets.
Let me come up with a comparison where Travis Hunter, he didn't run the full routes. He was 82% routes, so he's not on this chart. Only a 7.3% ADOT, but he had a 30% targets per run in his first game ever. So I guess maybe that's an unfair comparison, where Travis Hunter is one of the best rookies ever. But and maybe Emeka Egbuka just isn't quite in that category. So him hitting here is good relative to some expectations, but you need to see that improve, I think, for your 5th round pick to and probably higher in some other formats to hit.
Yeah, for me, the difference, so Egbuka has a couple deep targets, got an intermediate target, and then 3 short or behind the line of scrimmage targets, where Travis Hunter, it was all short or behind the line of scrimmage. And then he did have 1 deep target that helps make his ADOT look not quite as low as it actually was. But if you watch the game, almost every Travis Hunter target was an immediate, like this was a Liam Cohen designed play to quickly get the ball out right away. Here's Travis Hunter. It's a little bubble screen. It's a quick slant. It's like,
that's the Liam Cohen, like that's
that's the MO. Yeah, for sure. It's not to knock anything on Travis Hunter, but just to like, when making the comparison between him and Emeka Egbuka, I feel like for Hunter, it's I don't want to say like less of it is earned, but there is more that is by design for Hunter, where, and I don't think that's going away by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think Egbuka is
what you're saying is he's having to do more to earn those targets.
Exactly. Yes. And I think he's live to earn more of them, but also Travis Hunter is live to earn more targets. So I just want to make the comparison there and say like, hey, Hunter might have had a little easier sledding out of the gate to get that higher targets per route run. And that's a good thing, like that
Right.
the team wants to get you the ball. This is good. And so I think it could continue to grow, but I do think Egbuka probably is going to have to earn it a little bit more, but I certainly think that he can. So excited for both of those players. But just wanted that context there. I do like your comment about the regression candidates though, because we see Quentin Johnson and Keon Coleman up there, close to that median line where they're going to be on the left side there in that upper left quadrant. But basically all these guys up here in the top are guys who either, they all scored at least one touchdown and had like high efficiency, where Keon Coleman's catching a bunch of deeper stuff. Quentin Johnson gets the 2 TDs, Emeka Egbuka the 2 TDs, right? So from a fantasy point standpoint, you're obviously going to expect regression. From a role, like, hey, what is this guy? I think Egbuka is directionally accurate here. I think, like, if anything, you will see him come down on fantasy points per game, but I bet you will see him move a little bit to the right on the weighted targets per route run. Quentin Johnston, I think, is going to move down and to the left, where his weighted targets per route run come down, his fantasy points per game come down. Keon Coleman is one where I was like certified fader of the Keon Coleman fan club, really thought he was in the same archetype as Quentin Johnston of just this, hey, kind of flame out rookie receiver. Didn't see a lot of redeeming qualities to his game last year. He did have the short stretch where it seemed like he's starting to put it together. Then as the wrist injury comes back and it just doesn't stay put together for him. So maybe that was the actual truth there. But Keon Coleman's the one that I think there's the widest range of outcomes for him here. I mean, Emeka Egbuka, extremely wide range of outcomes, but
yeah,
I guess
I
more,
hear
more
you. Where like Keon
upside.
Coleman, so he had 22% targets per run at 12.8 at ADOT. So he's getting down the field targets from Josh Allen, and he's earning down the field targets. He's in the 90 to 95%, 94% route rate. He's our X receiver, and obviously he got a touchdown. We're not going to expect him to score 25 points a game, but upon kind of looking at the Keon Coleman thing, like it's probably like obviously him being up here, you can't expect him to score this many points a game going forward. You're not expecting Josh Allen to drop back like 50 times a game, but very, very strong early game for Keon Coleman. Like,
yeah,
I faded him too, and I'm feeling bad about fading him.
The point you made about Josh Allen is not going to drop back 50 times a game, that to me is the strongest piece of evidence for, hey, like cool the Jets on Keon Coleman. Last year, the Bills did not want to pass. Like if given any opportunity to not pass, they were happy to accept. And so
they have to do it. They have to do it in this game.
Yeah, I'd fully anticipate that to come down a lot, and that might hurt Keon Coleman. And so then rather than getting there from volume like he did on this game, he got there from volume and efficiency on this game. But when you're stuck with just efficiency in a low volume, that's more where I think that you'll probably have Keon Coleman live for the majority of the season, which to me, it probably lends him more to like a better like spike week, like harder to know when to start him for a managed league type player, but probably a decent pick at cost for best ball.
Probably a pretty strong pick.
Yeah.
It just we don't know when those weeks are going to come where they have to drop back a lot.
Yeah. Let's see other receivers. Yeah, I mean, guys with really, really strong usage profiles that didn't score a ton of points, but not only like had the peripherals and looked really good, just actually watching the game, like watching them play, like past the eye test, like, yep, this is the alpha receiver. This is clearly the best receiver on the team. Lad McConkey, Tet McMillan. I mean, to me, both of them had very, very strong games. Like every time you watch either of their targets, if you didn't get to watch these games all the way through, I would say at the very least, just go back and watch. There's a good like Tet McMillan every target cut up. It's floating around out there. He looked awesome. Like he's the real deal. Yeah, just certified.
So 88% route rate. He had a 12.8 at ADOT, so like absolutely kind of like alpha usage, and 1.9 yards per run, 23% targets per run.
He's winning like every route too. If you watch the routes, like he's just a good route runner. Like everything's smooth. There's separation. Like, and even on the routes where there's not as much separation, like he's just winning at the catch point. Like he's an awesome receiver. He's gonna be
he's who I should have comped Egbuka to, as like, hey, here's a guy who can win straight away, is getting the full target slot right away. But he's in a worse offense, so he probably will undershoot Egbuka on touchdowns.
Yep, that's the warts on the frog here. Is Bryce Young is throwing this guy the ball, and Bryce looked like he is turning back into a pumpkin. You gotta hope that's just inconsistency, and Bryce will be able to have games where he's good. But I'm feeling a little concerned about Bryce there. I'm not feeling concerned about Ladd McConkey's quarterback play. Ladd McConkey might be set up to have a really, really fun season with how good Justin Herbert looks, how good the Chargers offense looks, and the fact that they were willing to pass so heavily. I would expect their PROE to come down. There's no way it's going to stay at 15% week over week. But I think that what you'll likely see happen is in those games where the Chargers don't pass as much, the guys that are more, the tertiary options and the Quentin Johnston and the Keenan Allen, I think those guys are the ones that probably see their opportunities dwindle. And Ladd is the one that manages to maintain that target share. He wins at all depths. He's just good. He's good at everything. He's a extremely well-rounded wide receiver where, after the catch, I am super happy to have Ladd McConkey with the ball in his hands, right? Like route running, guy is winning on damn near every route. Like he's great hands too. Like there were a couple pretty difficult catches. He's a full package receiver, man. He's really good. Excited for the year 2 ascension to continue for him.
Yeah. And the biggest surprise, honestly, by far the biggest surprise when I was looking at the data behind this chart is looking at the Steelers, where you look at the Steelers and obviously DK Metcalf, he got 21% targets per run, and then he got 2.5 yards per route run, so he was pretty good. He still ended up with 21 yards per reception, but his ADOT was 4.1. And then you look at Calvin Austin, who also had a 21% targets per run, who had a 15 ADOT. And maybe that's just one of those weird things of like, if you're looking at a single game sample size. But I'm kind of shocked that Calvin Austin kind of got alpha route rate, alpha targets per run, and then he did it at a pretty high ADOT. If Aaron Rodgers sticks this year, it's looking like Calvin Austin is a league winner.
Yeah, I would love that to be true. I drafted a good amount.
That's a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
It's a lot of ifs to make that happen.
There are a lot of ifs. And I think the thing that I am most skeptical on is that the passing volume will be there. And I think the thing you're more likely to have is that Calvin Austin gets a couple deep shots a game, 1, 2, 3 in a normal game. But this game was a shootout. Like there were a lot more plays running this game than I would expect a normal Steelers game to have in it. So I'm tempering expectations, probably just because I don't want to get too over my skis and excited because some of my favorite teams have Calvin Austin on them. I'm like looking at my 5-5-5 teams like, ooh, 20th round Calvin Austin, 19th round Harold Fannin. That's pretty fun. But yeah, I don't want to get overly excited there. I think that it's one where the trapdoor could drop out from beneath us really easily, where we're like, oh yeah, Calvin Austin is just like, we'll get 3 games out of him in the course of the season where
maybe he's just an air yards guy.
Yeah. But week 1 was fun.
I don't think they went. So they had 34 dropbacks, 30 attempts, and they were minus 1% pure OE. So like nothing crazy there from the volume perspective, but maybe they're behind for a lot of the game. So maybe in a normal game, they're just like running the piss out of the ball. And
yeah, I think even though the dropbacks look normal, it's like in the context of an Arthur Smith Steelers offense,
right? That's
with Aaron Rodgers, the slowest motherfucker to ever play the game. Like, I think that
the delay of game on turn.
I saw that, dude. I was cracking up. Such a just absolutely inexcusable terror. Like, dude, at the very least, like, call the timeout. Like, you just take the timeout.
That's bare minimum stuff.
Dude, that was atrocious. But yeah, that's the concern with Calvin Austin, is that the baseline is 25 dropbacks per game, and then you're not quite as excited about it.
Right.
Any other receiver? The thing that
I don't think we have to talk too much about like bounce back games for Pickens,
it's week 1. Yeah,
Devonta, AJ Brown, like you guys get the idea. Like we're not showing it. We're not going to spend too much time on that. So then, you look, Iomanor. That one is kind of surprising. Where he like dominates here in the way the targets per run, like and I my note was like, is he just like an air yards king? And yes, he is an air, but like he's 25% targets per run, 19 ADOT, where like they're not that good of a team, and so they might have to throw a lot. The buck is still out on how good Cam Ward is. So like how useful is getting a lot of these deep targets. They didn't hit on them this week, with only 6.5 yards per reception. But that's one where you're probably going to get some big spike weeks from Iomanor.
Yeah, I think he goes as Cam Ward goes this season, where if Cam Ward is functional, which my lean the entire offseason was no, I don't think he's very good. I'd be so happy to eat my words on it, because I still drafted a decent amount of him, because there are people that I really trust their opinion and their process that thought he had the requisite upside to make it worth it at the price that he was going. So yeah, Iomanor is a really nice complement to the Cam Ward bet, where if that works out, he's going to be pretty fun. So I think like the range of outcomes is wide, like to the extent where it's this guy never has a startable week, or this guy is like a very startable wide receiver level of wide. So pretty fun there. Like you could do worse for a bench stash, right? Like what? Because the thing with rookie quarterbacks,
much worse. He's a starting receiver getting targets down the field. We just don't know how good the offense is yet.
Yeah, and the thing that you don't really want to be behind on is if you get the good Cam Ward game, where all of a sudden like you see that it's potential to start clicking, and like hey, this could be a good rookie season, you're gonna miss the plane on Iomanor, because that good Cam Ward game probably comes with some awesome Iomanor points. So anyway, that's all on Iomanor. The ones that I want to touch on are the dusty olds in the top right of the chart. Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel. I think they're both pretty interesting. You and I had a discussion about Deebo off the air, where you saw it as, hey, Deebo was we were ahead of market on FFPC. You were like, oh, this is a good process win, like nailed Deebo. And I was like, when you say nailed Deebo, you mean as like a fade, right? Because we were behind market on Underdog. And I think that it's kind of it's a beauty is in the eye of the beholder thing, because I could definitely see where you're coming from, where he gets all these targets, he's heavily involved in the offense, like he gets the touchdown. My perspective on it was, I mean, he's getting a lot of these little rinky-dink dump-offs, which, yes, that is a feature, not a bug in the Kingsbury offense. Like, that's going to be a thing. But he looked pretty bad to me. Like, he has some bad drops. He looks slow. Like, he doesn't look anywhere near, like, the explosive Debo that you used to have. Now, granted, the run, like, he gets into the end zone by doing Debo stuff, right? But if you watch that run, like, go back and
I watched that one like 2 or 3 times, especially if you saw something different to me.
How many players on the field are moving faster than Debo Samuel is a thing that you should know.
What I was looking at is how many players tried to tackle Debo Samuels, but
that's a good
unable
point.
To.
I think, and that's kind of the dichotomy here, where it's like, if you think that is, and you were very right in like, but dude, that is what Debo is. Debo is hard to tackle. That's what makes him special. My thing is, it's kind of like the running backs with the high missed tackles forced, where it's like the David Montgomerys of the world. It's like the Najee Harris. I'm going to shed 6 tackles for 1 additional yard. Like, that's kind of my nightmare with Debo that I'm seeing here, where it's like
he got like, now he had to break 2 tackles to get the last 10 yards and touchdown.
The run was very well blocked too, and not to
it was well blocked, but it wasn't like he was just walking in behind his blockers. Like, guys,
he did not. Yeah, I can't take that away from him. He did break those tackles at the end of the run, but man, go back and watch it one more time.
There was also a guy, once he turned the corner, the inside linebacker tried to tackle him, and like he just like went straight into Debo, and like it was like the tackle, even though it was an inside linebacker or a safety trying to hit him as hard as he could, the tackle had such a little impact on it that it was like, I don't like, it might not even count as an attempt to tackle. Like,
no, I think that's fair. I think it's really good.
When you look at like prime Debo, he was never a burner. Like, his 4.4 time was like a 4.48, so like never a burner. But he did used to be a little bit faster. Like, I don't think he's quite slow, but he did used to be faster. Like, he slowed down a little bit, and then because of that, he's going to have to break more tackles now to get the like less yardage, which means more miles on the clock. So like, he probably is a first half of the season guy, but I do think the first half of the season is going to be strong, because like you're saying, where it's like Debo fits the offense so well, where he gets rinky-dink shit, and then it's fucking Debo Samuel. You can't tackle him, so he turns that rinky-dink shit into like something good. It's well orchestrated. When it's well orchestrated and the blocks are good, the play is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's I'm coming around to your point of view on it. I think after like synthesizing my opinion after watching the game and watching him, and I think where I stand is cautious optimism on him, where like I definitely see the good a little bit better than I did previously, just from hearing you lay the case out. But yeah, I would. The upside seems a little capped to me in that, like,
it is.
The like
vintage
Debo Samuel season's not happening. That's not on the
right.
That's not in the cards.
No.
But you could get a pretty good outcome for what you paid for him. The one that's a little more, I'm conflicted with this one. I want to talk through it with you. But Keenan Allen, to me, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Number one, we saw him look totally washed last year in Chicago. Now, I think that might have just been some Bears stink on him.
I think that was the Bears stink. I really, really do.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean,
like,
that definitely.
DJ Moore stung too, and I think DJ Moore is still awesome.
Yeah, that's very fair. I wonder how useful Keenan is going to be as this season evolves. We talked about it earlier, like the older guys, are going to look better at the start of the season than they will at the end of the season. So I wonder how he holds up in that regard. I'm also wondering how, when the Chargers don't have quite as many dropbacks, what it looks like for Keenan Allen, because he's more like, he's not getting tons of like super, high ADOT stuff. Like, he got the touchdown. He still can do the Keenan Allen stuff where he's good at getting open and he can find the soft spots in the zone. But I'm just a little concerned that as the season goes on, he just ends up being the kind of guy where there's really not a lot of ceiling. And then the thing that used to make him great, where it's like, yeah, but it's so consistent, you get so many targets, that's also gone. And it's like, it's still consistent, but it's like 3 to 5 targets. That's my.
Oh yeah, the prime Keenan Allen thing is gone. Like, I agree with you. Like, where it's never going to be like Keenan Allen is just Keenan Allen anymore. But definitely, I do think, like, in terms of like even like with the closing price, that was the most expensive, where you're getting 78% route share, which is like not really part time. Like, to me, that's not part time at all. Like, that's borderline starter for the team. Like, he got, like, I know they dropped back a ton, but he did get 32 routes, and then you get the element of when he's out there, it's to get Keenan Allen the ball because he moves the chains.
Yep.
And obviously, so he scored 20 points here, and that's helped by the touchdown. That's helped by the massive PROE, and maybe his projection should be like 10 points, every game. And like we all have a bunch of teams. Hopefully, nobody's teams like that's like, oh, I have to start him. Maybe some Xavier Worthy teams that you have to start him now, but hopefully not too many. So I don't think, like, I'm not super juiced, but like I do think relative to my expectations going in, where Keenan Allen was kind of washed, and they were kind of seeing what they had in them, like there's still clearly juice left there. Was kind of my takeaway, and like he's gonna have like, maybe this is the high watermark, and 20 points is kind of sad as the high watermark, but like that's
you
still
take
some fantasy
that.
Juice.
Yeah. What you paid, you take that. As I think through like our process in the off season, and as far as like ranking him and the inputs we had on him, I don't really think that the probability of him retiring, not playing in the NFL this year, I don't really think we were that off on that. We didn't have it terribly high, but we had it, non-zero.
Right.
For the majority of the summer, because
he was silent for a lot of the year.
He was unsigned deep into training camp. Right. There's definitely
there was no noise.
Right.
Like with Nick Chubb, like even before he was signed, it was like Nick Chubb would really like to sign somewhere.
Right.
So we weren't quite getting that. And then we also got Amari Cooper, who retired.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of wonder if we just ran a little bad on Keenan process-wise, or if really like the spot where we were weak is the inputs for, hey, what would Keenan Allen actually do were he going to be playing? We probably attributed too much of the Bears stink to him there. And I think that might have been the weakness in our Keenan Allen projection. But I do think there was a pretty substantial amount of risk there, where if you're drafting Keenan Allen, you did manage to dodge a bullet, especially when the price rose. At the cheap price, that probably was like our bad for assuming that the Bears stink was not because of the Bears, and that part of it was Keenan was washed. But I do think you want to be pretty cautious on guys like this when you start to see the fall off, because it can go quick. So just wanting to talk through that as a process thing and think through it. I mean, it's definitely going to go down as an L. Like I've got to hold the L on it for the Keenan Allen fade just from the result. But I don't know if, like, probabilistically, if it was as big of an L, but I do think I know.
I get you. I think process wise it was okay, where we were baking in a decent amount of retirement risk, which was a real risk. Then once that retirement risk kind of got somewhat eliminated, it was never fully eliminated, as seen by Amari Cooper retiring. We still, like, there was still some probability that he's going to come back and stink, and I don't think we were terribly wrong on that, but like that's like we're reacting to news. He's not retiring, and he's kind of good. Like that.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
Yeah. Anyone else on this chart, or did you want to move on to the next one?
I had made a note to talk about Travis Hunter, but I think we kind of covered him, where him getting kind of like him getting the quick ADOT stuff to get involved. He did get the downfield shot. We're excited about Travis Hunter.
He's going to be good. He's going to be fun. I think the floor is quite high, just with the way that Liam Cohen likes to run his offense and the role that he's already got carved out for Travis Hunter. So it's you got to be excited after this first game. Although it wasn't a huge fantasy game, you got to feel good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then moving on to the kind of like not quite backups, but like very rotational guys. It's kind of funny seeing Puka on this chart.
He did it last year too. It's evergreen. Puka on the backups chart.
He came out like of the game 2 or 3 times.
It was 3 times.
Like, his eye was bleeding. Then the independent evaluator said, "Yeah, you're a fucking nick, mate. Like, we're double checking you for concussion." But then when he came back out, like we need to get this guy the ball.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird. Like, obviously, just the I don't know. Not a lot of signal in that kind of like wacky usage. I do see Jaden Higgins. He came out pretty heavily targeted, and you kind of consider targets earned. Like, for somebody who's more rotational as a rookie in their first game, you do love to see them earning the targets. I did see a note that he dropped a pass that ended into a pick. But I know you did you watch that game?
I don't think I saw him drop the pass that ended in a pick. There's a play where he got a target that I think I'm remembering this correctly. He got like a low target that ended up in the dirt that I thought that he could have caught.
Should have caught. Okay. Yeah. He had a drop. Is basically okay. So maybe I'm remembering a note.
I could be wrong on that one too, though. I need to go back and watch that one. But yeah, definitely encouraging to get as high a weighted targets per route run as he did. First game as a rookie, I would expect that to grow. The barriers to him there of like the Xavier Hutchinson and the whatever else the Titans or the Texans were rolling out. Entirely unconcerning to me. So I think you have to feel good about Jaden Higgins. Just going to be the classic rookie, journey of a little bit of a slower start for him, but definitely see this as a bullish start for him in spite of.
Right. He got 21% targets per run with a 17 ADOT. So he was definitely having to earn those guys. So like maybe he's starting out as kind of like a rotational deep shot guy. But like it for them to, even though they're bringing him on as a rotational deep shot guy, he's earning the targets when he's doing it. So you do feel hopeful that will lead to the role expansion that we want. And then the other one that I guess, so like Stefon Diggs on this chart, obviously a big part of that is coming off the ACL tear. But normally when you see guys who are being eased back from injury and not played that much, you see a huge targets per out run, because they're like, okay, well, now our good players on the field, we're going to target them, which I'm not really seeing with Steph Diggs. So like that has me a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly bullish for Diggs, especially given that the offseason reporting was how healthy he was and how far ahead of schedule, and he's wheels up, all systems go. So I also think that in this game, early in the game, he wasn't on the field as much. It actually was that he got on the field later in the game, which is a little weird to me. So yeah, not feeling particularly bullish on Diggs. I mean, the Patriots had a ton of dropbacks. So, I mean, if you look at all the Patriots' weapons, they all had a lot of targets. Like Demario Douglas, I think, had 7 targets. Hunter Henry had 7 targets. 6 targets for Travion Henderson. I think it was 7 for Diggs, 8 for Booty. Like everyone got targets. It was pretty spread out. And that's kind of what we saw last year as well, in that Maye sort of spread it out. I don't know if that's anything to do with Maye's tendencies as a passer. And if it is more just like, hey, there's not a dominant number one here to like earn all of the volume and have it consolidate on them. So it'll be definitely something I want to keep an eye on as the season progresses. I think that should someone step up and be able to consolidate, there's some opportunity here with what we hope is a really good quarterback. It seems optimistic for Maye. I do want to say like jury's still out though, because I mean the first season it was just such a dire situation that you just take the good and you throw out the bad because so much of it was situation. But I would have liked to see a little bit better here against what's supposed to be a pretty poor Raiders defense. So that was just like slightly concerning to me as someone that's really in on Maye. But maybe it's something where as the better weapons emerge in the offense, it consolidates a little bit more and the offense becomes more efficient. But yeah,
it wasn't so bad. And to me, the spread around nature of the targets is kind of highlighting to me that what that's highlighting is that none of them are very good.
Yeah, I agree.
And so maybe Drake Maye isn't spectacular himself, but I think he's doing just fine given the weapons. But yeah, I know when in our deepest, most enlightened fantasies of Drake Maye in his rookie year, he was going to elevate things. He was going to drive all the spectacular efficiency. Maybe he'll have games like that, but yeah, you get the week one where it's a little disappointing. It's hard to see that that playing out at this point.
Yeah, got to talk about what I think is the winner from the Broncos, rotational, who is going to be the guy that Sean Payton likes. Marvin Mims, you can just throw that one in the trash. That one's done. The Marvin Mims role did change in that he is on the field now more than like 40% of snaps. The Marvin Mims usage did not change in that he's only targeted on these behind the line of scrimmage or close to the line of scrimmage bullshit things. Troy Franklin is eating his lunch for the deep stuff. So Troy Franklin is what you wish Marvin Mims got to add to his game. Troy Franklin actually is the one getting to do that. So he's the one that's the most exciting Broncos pass catcher or receiver rather outside of Cortland Sutton. You've got some upside there where if Troy Franklin can consolidate stuff and earn more snaps, then he could be a little exciting. I mean, we've already seen like how Troy Franklin hits at the end of last season. It's like, oh yeah, Troy Franklin can just like get behind a guy and go for a 60-yard touchdown. And that's a thing that he does. So that part's exciting. The flies in the ointment and the warts on the frog. It's the wartiest frog covered in the flyiest filled ointment because Sean Payton does the Sean Payton bullshit where, next week Troy Franklin might run fewer routes inexplicably, or we learn the name of a new receiver that Sean Payton has become infatuated with, or Tyler Bidet is out there getting snaps as a wide receiver now. Who could have thought? He frustrated us in week one as a running back. Now he's out there taking. So there's so much stuff where it's scary. There's lots of ways to derail the Troy Franklin train from leaving the station. But I think at least at this point, the train is on the tracks and you're just hoping that it continues on down over the course of the season.
Here's what's interesting. I don't know if there was an injury to Mims or something like this, but Troy Franklin actually had more routes than Marvin Mims did. It was 65% from Franklin versus 63% for Mims. And while they have the same 8.5, Marvin Mims was like mostly scam targets with then one big deep shot to like make the average, whereas Franklin was getting mostly kind of intermediate stuff, and then also better earning out. He got 21% targets per run, so earning those targets better. So I what I'm saying is I agree with you that like, hey, Franklin is actually firmly the number 2 receiver right now. That's not that distinction is not helping you win fantasy games right now, and we're hopeful that that he expands that, especially as he continues to play well. But yeah, I like your note that Sean Payton is he's prone to frustrate us, so he may do that here also. But hopeful that Franklin's play continues to impress and get him more playing time.
Yeah, the only other guy quick note on Olamide Zaccheaus. Olamide Zaccheaus is like currently occupying the role we would hope that Luther Burden eventually takes over, right? We'll see how long he hangs on to it. He seems cromulent, like he's reasonable. He did fine. I would expect Burden to be able to wrest that away from him. And then, of course, we have to talk about Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed setting all kinds of records. First NFL player to play with a Jones fracture. It's never happened before. No one else has ever played with a Jones fracture. First NFL player to catch a touchdown with a Jones fracture. First NFL player to return a punt with a Jones fracture. Most punt return yards by a player with a Jones fracture. Most receptions by a player with a Jones fracture. Drico, I'm starting to think maybe Jayden Reed didn't have a Jones fracture. Is it possible that the Packers radio host who said that he had a Jones fracture may have not had correct information?
Right, that's what happened at this point. Like I was it's a little worrying when you see. I was definitely worried where you see that thrown out there, and it was like, hey, nobody is ever able to play with this. And then I expanded. Like I did like a search where I looked at where I did one of the I think it was Google or it was Twitter where I did like, hey, give me some comps of players that have played through Jones fractures, and it's like none exist. Okay, expand this to all sports ever. Has anybody ever played a professional sport? And they're like, no, it cannot be done. Like somebody tried in soccer and they were unable to.
Yeah, I did some similar research where I found all of the instances of Jones fractures that were reported in the league, and then the prognosis and what happened after the fact. Everyone either goes on IR or gets season-ending surgery. Like no one plays with a Jones fracture.
Right,
like,
right.
Let alone like
the narrative that people are like, what if this is just a crazy guy? Like he just has so much dog in him that he's going to try and do it. And you're right. It's like it's just like it's an impossible thing. Like
so yeah. One of my big takeaways this offseason is, being a news hound, consuming the information is a very important part of the process. Being able to successfully and accurately parse the information and think critically about stuff is such a huge advantage that you have over the vast majority of your competition. Like, again, we had people that were saying Chris Rodriguez is actually the running back here. He's the starting running back for the Commanders. You buffoon. The coach said that Chris Rodriguez could do stuff at the goal line. Like, just the ability to think critically and like pay attention.
Right, critical thought is so important.
And put together all the evidence and have a
so-and-so said this is going to happen, so therefore this is it. Like Marvin Mims ran all the routes for the starters in Denver preseason. So that's just how it's going to go.
Brock Bowers is the backup to Michael Mayer. I don't know if you heard. Like there's just and the crazy thing is like the market reacts on stuff like that. And like so I feel like this whole offseason, some of our largest advantages came from us simply talking through situations like that and being like, all right, what's a reasonable interpretation of this? What is the range of outcomes, given this information that we have? And so many times I felt like I was watching discourse happen around these things where we had logically deduced what the most likely outcomes were. And not only were people like not getting to what we thought the most likely outcomes were, they were 180 degrees in the wrong direction. So just a little PSA that you can, like, it does not take very much to vastly beat your opponents. Like, all you got to do is like spend a little bit of time and think critically about the information that you're consuming.
Agreed. And so I think that finishes us for week 1 in stat chasing. I had a great time as always, and we'll talk to everyone next week.
He's duck-footed. He looks really weird when he runs.
If it walks like a duck.
Wasn't his run like compared to like a duck?
Pigeon-toed good, duck-footed bad.
There's trouble you call DW.
Duck-winged duck.
Maybe it's a duck.
He's losing like a round of draft capital because of the direction of his feet point. I'm taking the duck-footed discount. Would he be better if he wasn't duck-footed? Probably. But like, he just was half an offense. I'm pretty sure he can fucking move.
You're right. The running style is crazy. It's like Russell Wilson. It's not good.
Duck-winged duck.
Incredible clip. Have a great week, everybody.